In this video, we'll go through 10 CBEP practice questions together, and I'll explain the logic behind each one, so you can build the right mindset for the actual exam. Before we begin, quick check. If the word CBEP isn't new to you, you're in the right place. But if you're not fully sure what CBEP means yet, I recommend watching my other videos first, where I explain the certification and share my full exam experience. With that context, this session will make a lot more sense. We'll start with 7 individual questions and then we'll move to a case study with 3 additional questions. Take a breath, get comfortable. Question 1. Let's begin. During requirements elicitation, you begin by reviewing all available business documentation, including architecture artifacts, previous project materials, and information created during earlier stages. Which technique are you using? A. Document analysis. B. Business architecture assessment. C. Document review. D. Observation. Let's break this one down. Option B, business architecture assessment. It sounds fancy, but BA-BOK doesn't actually list this as a technique, so this one is out. Option C, document review. It looks close, but it's not a BA-BOK term either. The official name is different. Option D, observation. That's about watching users perform real tasks, not reading through documentation or artifacts. So this one doesn't fit the scenario. Which means the correct answer is A, document analysis. Because the question literally describes reviewing existing documentation, which is exactly what document analysis is. Question 2. Bob has broken the solution scope into smaller pieces and connected high-level ideas to more detailed ones. Which trace requirements technique is Bob applying? A. Scope modeling. B. Traceability decomposition. C. Functional decomposition. D. Process modeling. Let's look at what Bob is actually doing. Option A. Scope modeling. This one is about visualizing the boundaries of the initiative and tracing requirements to parts of the scope. Useful, but not what's happening here. Option B, traceability decomposition. This isn't even a BA-BOK technique, so we can safely eliminate it. Option D, process modeling. This one is about describing the sequential flow of work, documenting how a process actually operates. It's not about decomposing high-level scope into smaller functional parts, so this one doesn't fit either. So the correct answer is C, functional decomposition, because Bob is literally breaking big items into smaller, more manageable components, which is exactly what the functional decomposition is for. Question 3. Which option below least accurately explains why an activity diagram might be used? A. An activity diagram helps identify opportunities for process improvement by making pain points more visible. B. An activity diagram uses BPMN, which allows different stakeholders to be separated using pools or swim lanes. C. Activity diagram work well when representing many alternative paths and parallel flows. D. An activity diagram can be used to detail the flow of a single use case. Alright, let's break this one down. Option A. This is correct. Activity diagrams absolutely help visualize pain points and improvement opportunities. Option C. Also true. Activity diagrams are great when you have lots of parallel or alternative paths. That's one of their strengths. Option D. Correct again. Activity diagrams can absolutely be used to show the detailed flow of a single use case. And now, the suspicious one. Option B. This statement claims activity diagrams use BPMN with pools and swim lanes. But nope, that's not it. Activity diagrams are UML, not BPMN. Yes, they can show swim lanes, but that's not BPMN's territory here. So the imposter and the correct answer is B. An activity diagram uses BPMN. Before we jump into question 4, if you're enjoying this video, please leave a comment below. I'd really love to hear how your CBEP preparation is going and what topics you want me to cover next. Let's move on. Question 4. Peter needs to model the features or functional abilities of an enterprise or solution. Which requirement model category should he use? A. People and roles. B. Rationale. C. Activity flow. D. Capability. Alright, let's walk through this one. Option A. People and roles. This model describes how individuals or groups relate organizationally to the solution. Useful, but they don't describe capabilities, so this isn't it. Option B, rationale. This explains the reasoning behind a change, the why behind it. Again, not what Peter needs here. Option C, activity flow. These models show sequences of actions or events. Great for understanding how work happens, but not for describing the functional abilities of a solution. And that brings us to option D, capability, the correct answer. Capability models highlight the functional features and abilities of an enterprise or solution, which is exactly what Peter is trying to represent. Question 5. Alex is a business analyst working in the investment division of a large financial organization. A new regulatory requirement has been introduced, and the stakeholders ask why he doesn't just request IT to update the system since the change is mandatory. Alex explains he must first understand the business need. Why is this necessary? A. Alex needs information to support the business case, even if the need appears obvious. B. Understanding the business need ensures that the most cost-effective and practical way to meet the regulatory requirement can be identified. C. He must understand what the business is aiming to accomplish through the changes. D. Alex wants to ensure documentation is extensive, aligned with standards and suitable for regulatory review. Let's walk through each option. Option A, supporting a business case. There is nothing in this scenario suggesting a business case is needed, so this isn't the key reason here. Option C, understanding what the business wants to accomplish. That sounds reasonable, but it's describing business objectives, not the deeper underlying business need. Option D, ensuring documentation is extensive for regulatory review. This isn't supported by BA-BOK at all. This is basically a made-up justification. Which brings us to the real answer. Option B, the correct one. Understanding the business need allows Alex to determine the most cost-effective and practical way to meet the regulatory requirement. Even when a change is mandatory, there are still multiple ways to implement it, and strategy analysis helps identify the best approach. Question 6. As part of preparing for elicitation, you need to review a document that outlines the expected costs and benefits of the proposed solution. Which document should you refer to? A. Solution scope. B. Business need. C. Business case. D. Project management plan. Alright, let's look at the logic behind each option. Option A. Solution scope. This describes the boundaries of the solution and what it will include. It might appear inside the business case, but it definitely doesn't give you detailed costs and benefit forecasts, so this one isn't it. Option B, business need. A business need explains the underlying problem or opportunity. Important? Yes, but it's not the document where financial justification lives, so not this one either. Option D, project management plan. This comes from the PMBOK world and focuses on delivery planning. It might reference costs from a project management perspective, but it's not a BA-BOK business analysis artifact, so we can also exclude this option, which leaves us with the correct answer, C, business case, because that's exactly where expected costs and benefits are documented, and the right place to look when you're preparing for elicitation with financial considerations in mind. Question 7. Non-functional requirements analysis is identified in BA-BOK as a technique used for which task within the requirements analysis and design definition knowledge area? A. Specify and model requirements. B. Verify requirements. C. Prioritize requirements. D. Define design options. Let's go through the options. Option B. Verify requirements. This task focuses on checking that requirements meet quality standards and align with stakeholder needs. It does not list non-functional requirements analysis as a technique. Option C. Prioritize requirements. Prioritization is a task itself, not where this technique is applied, so this one doesn't fit. Option D. Define design options. This task is about identifying and comparing solution approaches. Non-functional requirements analysis isn't listed as a technique here either, which brings us to the correct answer, A. Specify and model requirements. BA-BOK explicitly lists non-functional requirements analysis as a technique used in this task. This is where performance, security, usability and other quality attributes are analyzed and clearly described. Now let's move to a case study. This one has 3 connected questions, so think of it as one story with 3 decision points. Take a few seconds after each question and try to answer it before we go through the logic. A company provides home and office delivery of large drinking water containers. The service ships 5-gallon refill bottles that are placed upside down on top of standard dispensers. This format is widely used across the bottled water industry. Over the last several years, subscription sales have been falling by roughly 5% annually. Bob has been asked to evaluate the existing offering and determine why revenue is declining in a product line that historically performed well. Question 1 of 3. How should Bob proceed? A. Root cause analysis. B. Data mining. C. Benchmarking and market analysis. D. Focus groups. Alright, let's go through the options. Option A. Root cause analysis. This can definitely be useful later, but at this point Bob doesn't even know where the problem sits yet, so it's too early to jump into root causes. Option B. Data mining. This could be a reasonable follow-up, especially if there is good churn or complaint data available, but it's still not the best first step. Option D. Focus groups. This may help later on, but before talking to customers, Bob needs to understand the bigger industry picture. So the correct answer here is option C, benchmarking and market analysis. Because this is a common product across competitors, Bob should first understand whether others are seeing the same decline and how they're responding. That's exactly what PBOK recommends in this situation. Question 2 of 3. Bob discovers that other local water delivery companies are also reporting declining customer retention. Reviewing internal complaint logs does not reveal clear insights. Bob now needs a next step. What should Bob do now? A. Interviews. B. Root cause analysis. C. Survey or questionnaire. D. Operational assessment. Let's walk through the options again. Option B. Root cause analysis. This may become useful later, but Bob still doesn't have enough direct insight yet. Option C. Survey or questionnaire. Possible, but without knowing the right questions to ask, the result would likely be vague or unfocused. Option D. Operational assessment. This looks at the internal processes, but the issue here is customer behavior, not internal operations. So the correct answer is option A, interviews. Bob needs to speak directly with the customers who canceled the service to understand why they stopped ordering. This aligns perfectly with the PBOK guidance for this stage. Question 3 of 3. Through interviews, Bob learns that many subscribers have difficulty lifting the 5-gallon containers onto the dispenser as they get older. To address the issue, Bob quickly runs cost estimates for producing a 2.5-gallon container line that would still fit existing machines. He recommends launching the smaller jug format along with a targeted campaign to win back former customers. What might Bob be missing? A. Nothing is missing. Bob's recommendation is fully complete. B. He needs to provide additional alternative actions. C. He needs to complete a risk analysis. D. He needs to include the consequences of taking no action. Let's walk through each option. Option A. Nothing is missing. That's not true. There is still an assumption that hasn't been tested. Option B. Providing additional alternative actions. That might be useful, but it's not the most critical gap right now. Option D. Including the consequences of taking no action. Relevant, but still secondary. The correct answer is option C. He needs to complete a risk analysis. Bob is assuming that customers who struggled with the 5-gallon jugs will be satisfied lifting 2.5-gallon ones. That assumption represents risk, and PBOK clearly states that risks must be identified and analyzed before making final recommendations. And that's it for today. I really hope this practice session was useful and helped you feel more confident when working through CBAP questions. If you like this format, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear which questions you found tricky and what topics you want to practice next. If you're preparing for the CBAP, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm sharing practical tips, explanations and real examples that focus on how to think through questions, not just memorize them. Thanks for watching, good luck with your preparation, and I'll see you in the next video.